Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're joining us today, you are probably ready to stop feeling like your brain is working against you. And this is a deep dive that's really specifically designed for you, our dedicated learner. It's brought to you by Native Ear, the channel that's all about helping you unlock not just language, but the true potential of your own mind.
Yeah, that untapped potential.
Exactly. If you've ever, say, studied English vocabulary for hours, or you finally master a really complex grammar rule.
Only to have it just disappear.
Right. The moment you actually need it in a real conversation, you might think, I just have a bad memory.
And we're here to tell you that's just not true.
We're here to prove that thought completely wrong. Today, we are focusing on unlocking your memory with a powerful, really a life-changing system. And to guide us, I'm thrilled to have our expert instructor. His insights are always so warm, clear, and just actionable. Welcome.
It's a real pleasure to be here. And I'm excited because we're going to move the conversation beyond just a few little tricks and into, well, true cognitive transformation.
Transformation. That is the mission. So before we jump into the very first step, let's talk about the payoff. If you, our listener, really commit to this system, what are the big results you can actually expect?
The results are substantial. And, they translate directly to real-life confidence. If you apply this system, you will learn the exact steps to unlock your brain's real power. You'll upgrade your memory from, let's say, a leaky storage system to permanent retention. You will feel in control of information.
Whether that's vocabulary or...
Exactly. Vocabulary, verb conjugations, names, data for your job. And here's the best part. Your English understanding will improve naturally because you're finally holding on to the knowledge long enough to actually use it.
So you stop feeling so overwhelmed.
And you start feeling genuinely capable.
That promise alone, feeling capable, that's memory liberation.
Yeah.
So here's the opening question for you, the listener. Are you ready to stop feeling lost in all that information and start trusting your mind again? If the answer is yes, then let's dive in deep. And before we go any further, remember to subscribe to the Native Ear channel, like this deep dive, and please share these lessons with your friends and family. Help them get these excellent results with really minimal effort.
It's all about working smarter.
It is. So let's set the stage. The starting point for most people is that belief, that roadblock, that they just have a weak brain.
Yeah, I'm just not good at memorizing things. We hear it all the time.
Right. They see someone who's fluent or a memory expert, and they think, I'm just not smart enough. What's the fundamental problem with that?
It's the single biggest barrier to success. It really is.
Yeah.
Because it implies that memory is a fixed talent, like your eye color.
Something you're born with.
Exactly. And it's not just wrong, it's debilitating. The core truth we have to accept is this. You do not have a weak memory. What you have is an untrained system.
An untrained system.
I like that. Your hardware is excellent, your brain is a supercomputer, but your operating system, well, it needs an upgrade.
That immediately shifts it from something you can't change to a skill you can actually improve.
Precisely. And the reason the system is untrained is that most people just don't understand the basics of how memory even works. They treat their brain like a random box they just throw facts into.
And then they're shocked when the facts disappear.
Yes. We need to be intentional.
Okay, so let's get intentional. Let's unpack the mechanics with step one. Understand how memory works. We need to really separate short-term and long-term storage. Our source material uses this great analogy of the brain as a library.
The library analogy is perfect.
Yes.
It really is. It introduces the idea of management. Every time you learn a new English word, a name, a date, it's like getting a new book for your library.
Okay.
And you have to place that book on a shelf. If you just, drop the book on the floor or you forget to label it,
It's going to get lost.
It's gone. It'll get buried under all the new information coming in.
And inside that library, there are two different kinds of storage. Can you break down the whiteboard versus the permanent notebook?
Absolutely. Short-term memory is basically that temporary whiteboard. It's where you're working right now. Information gets written down fast, a phone number you just heard, a new word's pronunciation.
But it's not permanent.
Not at all. If you don't do something to save it, it gets wiped out in seconds, maybe minutes. It's your working space, not your storage space.
And long-term memory.
That's the permanent organized notebook. It's the archive. Once information makes that journey to long-term storage, it's essentially there forever.
So the biggest failure is that people keep everything on the whiteboard.
That's it, especially with language learning. They cram for an hour, they feel smart, but they never revisit the material. They don't do the work to move that data from the whiteboard to the permanent notebook, and so, poof, it vanishes.
Let's make this real with that classic example. Meeting someone new. Let's call him Jason.
Ah, the Jason scenario. We've all been there. Someone says, "Hi, I'm Jason." You shake their hand, you talk for a minute.
And 5 minutes later, the name is just gone. A complete blank.
Completely gone. And here's why. Your brain heard the sound, but it didn't process the data. There was no repetition, no emotional connection, no picture.
It never left the whiteboard.
It never even had a chance.
So if that information just evaporated, what are the specific active things we have to do right in that moment to force that name or that new English idiom into the permanent notebook?
The fix is about making the information deliberate and, well, interesting for your brain. You have to take action immediately. First, connect it to something you already know.
An image?
An image, yeah. Maybe you think of the actor Jason Statham. So you think Jason, like the tough actor, and you connect it to something about the new Jason.
Okay, what's next?
Second, you have to repeat the name out loud right away. Nice to meet you, Jason. Third, you use it again. A minute later, so Jason, what do you do for work?
By doing that, you're not just hearing, you're engaging multiple parts of the brain. The ears, the eyes, the mouth.
You're sending a direct command to your brain. This file is important. Save this file now. You're building a much stronger neural pathway.
So the key takeaway here, especially for our English learners, is that memory is not a talent.
It's a skill. A skill you build with a system. If you keep treating your brain like a random box, you'll always feel lost. But if you apply the system, you gain control.
Your memory is working perfectly. It's your system that needs a little work. I love that. Which brings us right to step 2. Pay full attention. You can't remember what you never really noticed.
This is the absolute foundation. I mean it. If your attention fails, all the other steps don't matter. We have to face a kind of brutal truth.
Which is?
We often don't have a memory problem, we have an attention problem. If your brain never clearly focused on the information in the first place, there's nothing there to remember later. It's an empty file.
And we live in a world that is just designed to break our attention into a million pieces.
It is. Notifications, social media, noise. Think about the selection process. Every second, your brain is just bombarded with information, sounds, colors, thoughts.
It would be overwhelming to save it all.
It would literally crash, so the brain evolved to be a ruthless gatekeeper. It avoids insanity by aggressively choosing what to keep and what to just delete.
And that choice is based on one thing.
One thing only, your attention. If you focus on it, your brain says, okay, this might be important, and it saves a copy. If you don't, it's vaporized instantly. Attention is the door. If you don't open it, nothing gets inside.
I think the taxi scenario is a perfect illustration of this. The information was there, but the mind was absent.
Oh, it's so relatable. It's painful. Imagine leaving a taxi. You're tired, you're distracted by your phone, you're thinking about dinner, you get out and you realize you left your bag inside.
Panic.
Total panic. And you try desperately to remember the license plate number, but you've got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But you were right there. You saw the back of the car. Why is it blank?
Because you were physically present, but you were mentally absent. You saw the plate, but you didn't look at the plate.
Okay.
Your brain never saved the data because you, the operator, were thinking about a million other things.
And this is so critical for English learning.
It's everything. If you read a difficult sentence in a book while you're half thinking about your grocery list, that information never truly enters your system. You think you read it, but you didn't actually process it.
So how do we force ourselves to engage, especially with something that might be a little dry, like, a long list of historical facts?
We use the 5-second rule. It's about enforcing focus. Whenever you see a piece of information you decide is important, a new phrase, a fact, a date, you must actively stop.
Just pause.
Pause. Look at it, listen to it, say it out loud, repeat it in your head. Just dedicate 5 seconds of real, deliberate, no interruptions attention. That 5-second choice is often the difference between remembering for life and forgetting forever.
Attention is the door. You have to consciously open it.
You have to shoulder check it open.
Okay, so once that door is open, we need to encode the information in a way the brain actually likes. This brings us to step 3. Turn words into pictures. This is the secret, right?
Yeah.
The brain remembers images, not text.
This is the secret sauce. It really is. Your brain is a visual engine. Let's do a little test right now. The elephant test. If I say the word elephant to you, what do you see in your mind?
I see the big gray animal, the wrinkly skin, the trunk, the big ears. I definitely don't see the letters E-L-E-P-H-A-N-T
Yeah,
spelled out.
nobody does. Words are abstract. Images are immediate. They have color, emotion, size, movement. If you want any piece of information to stick, you have to deliberately change it from abstract text into a strong, vivid mental picture.
Why does that work so much better?
Because abstract text is boring, and the brain dismisses boring things. It doesn't see them as important for survival, but images are alive. They engage the sensory parts of your brain.
So for a name like Lily,
Just thinking Lily equals name is a really weak connection. But what if you imagine her hair is made of actual white lilies? Or you picture her holding a gigantic, ridiculously oversized bouquet of lilies.
now you've connected the name to a strong visual anchor.
Right. The brain goes, whoa, that's unusual. I should probably keep that.
And the source material really emphasizes making these images exaggerated or funny or strange.
Why is the silliness so important?
Because memory is fundamentally tied to two things: emotion and movement. A normal, mundane image is boring. It's forgettable. But a silly, weird, or shocking image flips a switch in your amygdala, the brain's emotional center.
It signals that this moment is different.
It's different. The brain loves drama and surprise. It doesn't care much for logic or realism when it comes to memory.
Okay, let's try this with a difficult English word. Something abstract like ephemeral, meaning it only lasts for a very short time. How do you turn that into a picture?
Right.
Yeah.
Just reading the definition is weak. You need an emotional picture. Imagine this. You're holding a giant, beautiful, perfect ice sculpture of a swan. It's the most amazing thing you've ever seen.
Okay, I can see that.
But as you're holding it, it starts to melt fast. It just drips away in 3 seconds, and all you're left with is a puddle of water. You feel that little pang of sadness and loss.
That beautiful, temporary swan is ephemeral. Now you have color, you have emotion, that sadness, and you have movement, the dripping. You've just made an abstract idea unforgettable.
That makes so much sense. And we can do this with lists too, right? Like a grocery list. Milk, eggs, book, shoes, cat.
Instead of a boring list, you create a crazy story. A giant milk carton is reading a very serious book. A huge, angry cat is wearing tiny little shoes and sitting on the book. And eggs are raining down from the sky like hail, cracking on the milk carton.
You remember the scene, not the individual items.
Exactly. You're seeing action, you're feeling surprised, that's what sticks.
This leads perfectly into step 4, which is using the story method. The brain demands a narrative.
It absolutely does. I mean, think about it from an evolutionary perspective. Our ancestors didn't remember lists of facts. They remembered stories about how to hunt or how to avoid danger. Stories are how we organize and pass on important information.
I want to address something here because I think a lot of learners struggle with this. We're trying to memorize abstract things like grammar rules or confusing English words. Let's take a tough list for learners. Accept. Advise, advice, compliment, and compliment.
That is a great list. A very confusing one. And a standard list fails because, accept has no real relationship with it, things. Accept.
Yeah.
They're just floating there, alone. There's no feeling.
So let's wrap them in a crazy story that forces us to use them correctly.
Okay, let's build a scene. An evil king decides he will accept a magical golden crown. But he forces everyone except his tiny, funny little dog to leave the room.
I'm with you.
The dog gives the king some bad advice response. That's the noun with a C. The king ignores it. So the dog decides to advise the queen instead. That's the verb with an S.
Okay, I see the difference now.
Then the king gives the dog a huge personal compliment about his loyalty. And the dog is so happy that his tail starts to compliment, meaning it matches perfectly the color of the golden crown.
That is such a powerful transformation. By creating that narrative, you're forced to understand the correct usage.
The story provides connection, movement, and that critical difference between the pairs. The brain remembers the surprise, the funny dog giving advice, and that's the memory glue. The crazier, the better.
So now we move to the ultimate encoding system. Step 8. Create a mind palace. This is a legendary technique.
It is, used for thousands of years. It's the ultimate anchoring technique because it uses something your brain is already amazing at, remembering places.
Facial recall.
Exactly. You can remember the layout of your childhood home, a favorite cafe, your office, perfectly. Even years later, the brain prioritizes space for survival. A mind palace uses these familiar places to anchor abstract facts.
So we take a place we know inside and out, and we assign the things we want to remember to specific spots in that place. How does a beginner start this without feeling totally overwhelmed?
The key is familiarity. Start simple. Use your current house or apartment. You have to be able to walk through it in your mind in a sequence. Front door, living room, kitchen, bedroom. A fixed route.
And then you place the items along that route.
Right. You place your memory items, your vocabulary list, your grammar rules at these spots, and you always convert the facts into strange emotional pictures, just like we already talked about.
That sounds incredible, but also a bit intimidating. If I'm trying to learn 20 new verbs a day, do I have to build a new palace every single day? That sounds like burnout.
That's an excellent question, and it's where people go wrong. You don't need a new palace every day. You use the same palace for a category of information.
Okay.
So maybe your childhood home becomes your irregular verbs palace. Your apartment is your phrasal verbs palace. You can rotate the information in those locations or use a totally different palace for a different subject. The palace is just the reliable container.
Let's walk through the planet example again, but let's really focus on the multisensory details because that's what makes it stick. The order is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. We're walking through the house.
Okay, let's do it. You open the front door, and you immediately smell smoke. In the hallway, you see a frying pan on fire. It's incredibly hot. That's Mercury, the hot planet. We've added smell and heat.
Okay, good start.
Now we go into the living room. It's beautiful, perfectly decorated. A gorgeous perfume bottle is spraying a thick pink fog everywhere. That's Venus, the goddess of beauty.
Next, the kitchen.
In the kitchen sink, you see a tiny spinning globe floating in a little bathtub full of clean blue water. That's our home, Earth.
Simple enough. Now the bedroom.
The bedroom is a total mess. Everything is covered in a fine red dust like from a brick. You can feel it under your feet. That's Mars, the red planet.
Okay, onto the balcony.
Out on the balcony, a giant, oversized balloon is bouncing around, pushing against the walls. It's the biggest thing in the house. That's Jupiter, the biggest planet.
The stair.
On the stairs, you see a big hula hoop, a ring wrapped around the central pole. That's Saturn, with its famous rings.
To the terrace.
On the terrace, it is freezing cold. An ice cube is sitting on a chair, shivering violently, its teeth chattering. That's Uranus, the cold planet.
And finally, the gate outside.
At the gate, a dark blue ocean is splashing violently against the fence. That's Neptune, the god of the sea.
That walkthrough really shows the power of it. The familiar location gives you the structure, the scaffolding for all the facts.
And the most important tip is to review the palace. Walk through it in your mind every day, even for just a minute before you fall asleep. That mental walk is what locks it all in.
Okay, so we've encoded the information, but even the best encoding fades without maintenance. This brings us to section 3, the retention system. Starting with step 5, practice spaced repetition. You said something powerful. One-time learning is fake learning.
It is. It's the biggest time waster for learners. Cramming is just temporary storage. If you memorize something once, it's fleeting. Your brain needs strategic, spaced-out repetition to get the signal that this information is valuable enough to keep forever.
This gets into the science of forgetting, right? The Ebbinghaus forgetting curve.
Yeah.
Why does our memory fade so fast?
Think of learning something new, like writing in wet sand at the beach. You write it clearly. But if you just walk away, the wind and the waves' time and forgetting, start washing it away immediately. The Ebbinghaus curve shows that we can lose, 50% of new information within 24 hours if we don't review it.
So spaced repetition is the direct counterattack to that natural process.
It's a strategic countermeasure. It's not random repetition. The schedule is designed to remind your brain of the information right before it's about to delete it.
Can you walk us through what that ideal spacing looks like?
The timing is key. It's about sending that signal, this matters, save this deeper. So it looks something like this. You learn it once, you review it after about an hour.
An hour.
Then again after 1 day. Then after maybe 2 or 3 days. Then a week. Then 2 weeks. Then a month.
And each one of those reviews is like carving the memory a little deeper. From sand into stone.
Exactly. That's the perfect analogy. After 5 or 6 of those spaced repetitions, the brain basically says, okay, I get it, this is important, and it files it as permanent knowledge.
Let's apply this to a complex English word like serendipity, finding something good without looking for it. How do we build a lasting relationship with that word?
Right, the failure scenario is so common. You learn the word, you think that's nice, you use it once in a text message, and then you never see it again. It's gone in a week.
So what does the success scenario, the deep relationship, look like?
On day 1, you learn it and create a visual image. An hour later, you use active recall to write a sentence with it. That night, before sleep, you say it out loud. The next day, you try to use it in a conversation.
You're forcing it into your life.
You are. On day 4, you teach the word to someone else. On day 7, you look for it in an article or write a little story about a serendipitous moment. Now that word is deeply rooted. It belongs to you forever.
I love that idea of building a relationship with a word. It makes the effort feel more rewarding.
It does. Now let's move to step 7. Teach what you learn. This is what you call the most underrated memory secret. If you want to remember something forever, teach it immediately. Why is that so powerful? It completely changes your mental position. The moment you decide to teach something, you shift from being a passive receiver, a student, to an active master, a creator. And that forces your brain to internalize the knowledge on a much, much deeper level.
It sounds like it forces you to organize your thoughts. You can't teach something that's a mess in your own head.
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
When you prepare to explain something, you are forced to do 3 critical things. 1, you have to recall it clearly without your notes.
Active recall.
2, you have to organize it logically so it makes sense to someone else. And 3, you have to synthesize it, put it into your own simple words. This whole process forces your brain to rebuild the knowledge from the inside out.
And anything you can rebuild, you'll never forget.
You'll never forget it.
Let's use a tricky grammar rule. Maybe the difference between the simple past and the present perfect. That's a tough one for learners.
It is. The failure scenario is you read the role, you think you understand it, but you walk away. It stays as abstract theory.
And the success scenario, using teaching.
You immediately sit down and explain it to a friend, or even just record a voice note for yourself. You say, okay, the simple past is for finished actions at a specific time, like I finished my homework yesterday. The present perfect connects the past to now, like I have finished my homework, so now I can go out.
By explaining that distinction, your brain cements the boundaries between the 2 rules.
It makes it durable and usable, and you don't need a classroom. Explain it to your cat. Write an email to a hypothetical friend. It works. Students who teach others perform so much better on tests. It's the ultimate proof that you've learned it.
Which is the perfect setup for step 11, use active recall. This tackles the huge mistake learners make, confusing understanding with remembering.
This is maybe the most dangerous trap in all of learning. People feel smart when they're passively reading or watching a video because the answer's right there. They think, I get it.
But that comprehension is temporary.
It's momentary. Understanding is not memory. The only real test is retrieval. Can you pull the information out of your brain when the book is closed and the video is off?
So active recall is really the only honest way to study?
It's simple, but it's uncomfortable because it forces you to struggle. Active recall just means close the book, pause the video, and ask your brain, can I remember this now? No cheating. And that struggle to pull the information out is what actually strengthens the memory.
I think the gym analogy from the source material is perfect for this.
It is. Passively reading is like watching someone else lift weights at the gym. You understand how it's done, but you build 0 muscle.
Right.
Active recall is you grabbing that mental dumbbell and struggling to lift it. The muscle only grows under that strain. If the recall is easy, the memory doesn't get stronger. It's in the struggle that the real learning happens.
Let's test this with a quote. Consistency is more important than intensity.
Okay. You read it, you agree with it. Now, active recall. Cover the sentence. Ask yourself, what was that quote? What were the 2 main words? Maybe you can only remember, something is more important than intensity.
And you struggle for the word consistency.
That struggle is proof that your brain is working. You then check the quote, and the memory of that struggle bonds the concepts together. That's how retrieval builds retention.
So what are 3 practical ways our learners can use active recall every day?
1, the retell method. After you listen to this, pause and try to write down the 3 most important ideas you heard. 2, quiz yourself. Before bed, take your notes, cover the answers, and test yourself. And 3, the blank page method. After studying a chapter, take a blank page and just write down everything you remember about it. That is pure, powerful retrieval practice.
Okay, we've built the system, we've practiced maintenance. Now we focus on the environment, which starts with step 6, maybe the most powerful amplifier at all. Use emotional connection. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the memory.
This is a deep evolutionary truth. Humans are just wired to remember moments of strong emotion. Joy, fear, surprise, heartbreak. You remember your wedding day far better than you remember what you had for breakfast last Tuesday?
And you mentioned the amygdala earlier. Why does emotion work like this memory superglue?
Well, emotion activates a very ancient part of your brain called the amygdala. Its main job, evolutionarily, was survival. If a tiger scared you in a certain place, the amygdala fired up and tagged that event. High priority. Store this feeling and this location forever.
It's like an emergency flare.
It's an emergency flare for your brain. It says, this is important, store this permanently. A boring sentence you read 10 times can be forgotten. But a sentence that makes you laugh out loud or, makes you feel something, that's often a permanent memory.
Let's use the historical example of the Titanic.
Right. Memorizing the date, April 15th, 1912, is just dry data. You'll forget it. But if you connect that date to the emotional story, the tragedy, the bravery, the freezing water, the human loss, it stops being just numbers.
It becomes a human story.
And you feel the weight of it. Now the date is anchored to that feeling forever.
So how do we apply this to a difficult English word like melancholy, which means a kind of pensive sadness?
You have to create an emotional anchor for it. Don't just learn it means sad. Connect it to a powerful personal feeling. Imagine a deep, gray, rainy day where you feel a specific, gentle ache in your chest, but you don't know why. You put on a specific piece of sad music that makes you feel that exact kind of sadness. Now, when you see the word melancholy, you don't just see a definition. You feel the rain, you hear the music, you feel that ache. The word now lives inside you.
And even for boring topics, there's the trick of using fake emotion, like humor.
Absolutely. If the topic is boring, make the image ridiculously silly or painful or funny. Like the math formula for a triangle, area equals 1/2 base times height. The pain of only getting half a slice of your favorite pizza makes you remember the fraction 1/2. Your brain doesn't care if the emotion is real or logical, only that it was intense.
Moving on to the night cycle. Step 9. Review before sleep. This is a scientifically proven game changer. What you do in the last 10 minutes before sleep matters. A lot.
It's a cognitive hidden weapon. When you sleep, your brain is that diligent librarian, organizing and filing everything from the day. It runs a consolidation process, deciding what to keep and what to delete.
And reviewing right before you fall asleep is like putting a big, high-priority stamp on the files you want to keep.
It's the ultimate signal. Let's look at the failure scenario. You study English for 2 hours, but for the last 30 minutes before bed, you scroll social media and watch funny videos.
Oh, we've all done that.
We all have. But your brain, processing the last input, says, the funny videos must be the most important thing from today. And it prioritizes saving that while it might delete the grammar points you studied.
Whereas the success ritual is simple.
It's so simple, but so powerful. 5 minutes before bed, no screens, sit quietly, whisper the new words you learned, use them in a few mental sentences. Mentally walk through your mind palace, then sleep. Your brain gets to work moving that material into permanent memory.
Now to a physical action. Step 10. Write things down. Writing is the save button of the brain.
If you ask why people forget what they read but rarely forget what they write, it's because writing is an active process. It slows your thinking down, it forces you to organize, it creates a physical and mental connection. It's the moment you literally press save.
So what's the key difference between just hearing something and physically writing it?
Hearing can be passive. You're in absorption mode. But when your hand starts to write, your brain instantly switches to production and creation mode. It says, okay, this is serious. I have to understand this well enough to reproduce it. That's where the deepest learning pathways are built.
And there's a really important distinction between typing and handwriting.
A huge one. Typing can be automatic. Your fingers just fly. But handwriting forces you to slow down. You feel the shape of the letters. And that deliberate, slower action builds much deeper neurological connections. Studies consistently show students who write notes by hand remember them better.
So let's use the word resilience, the ability to recover from difficulties. How does the writing ritual lock this in?
Okay, you've read the definition. Now you grab a notebook. And in 60 seconds, you do this. 1, you write the word resilience. 2, you write the meaning in your own words. 3, you write a full English sentence using it.
For example,
after losing his job, his resilience helped him find a new path. And 4, you write a personal connection. I want to become more resilient in my life. Now, the weird isn't just text. It's a story, a feeling, a physical action, and a personal goal. It's yours.
This brings us to the final, critical step for our mental environment. Step 12. Protect your mind from overload. A crowded brain can't remember.
This is the hidden enemy, the thing that's silently killing our memory in the 21st century. Digital clutter. Constant noise. Your brain is designed for deep thought, not as a trash can for random content. If your mind is full of notifications and endless scrolling, it has no bandwidth left to store the things that actually matter.
The grocery list example really hits home here.
It does. You make a simple mental list. Milk, bread, apples, soap. But then you check your phone, 20 notifications, 5 news alerts, a few memes. By the time you get to the store, that important list is buried under a mountain of meaningless digital content. You might remember milk and apples, but the soap is gone.
So the problem isn't a bad memory, it's bad boundaries. The mind is a garden, not a dumpster.
Exactly. If you let the digital weeds grow wild, they will choke the flowers, your important knowledge and skills. You have to create strong boundaries to protect that mental garden.
So what are some powerful, actionable habits we can start right now to protect our mental space?
First, a silent morning start. Just 5 minutes of quiet, no phone, before you do anything. Let your brain wake up clean. Second, limit useless information. Be ruthless. Unfollow the noise. Mute the junk. Your brain isn't a recycling bin.
I like that.
Third, use journaling to empty your head. Write down your stress and to-do list to get them out of your working memory. And fourth, practice digital fasting. 1 hour a day with no screens, no noise, especially in the evening.
It seems like memory is really just about making space for what matters.
That's the final discipline. Clarity and focus are impossible if your brain is drowning. Protecting your mind allows all the other 11 steps to actually work.
This has been an incredibly powerful deep dive. We've covered the whole system, from understanding how the brain saves data, to encoding with pictures and stories, to maintenance with spaced repetition, and finally protecting that mental garden.
It's a complete path, and it's designed for transformational learning and lasting English fluency. But I have to say this again. Knowing these steps isn't enough. You have to live them. You have to practice them every day.
This system is the path to remembering faster, speaking better English, and feeling truly confident. The message is so clear. Real memory isn't about being a genius. It's about your daily decisions. Do you write what you learn? Do you teach it? Do you protect your brain?
If the answer is yes, then you're not just remembering facts. You're evolving into someone who remembers what truly matters.
And as we wrap up, remember that every example and explanation here has also been a gift for your English skills, helping you grow in focus, clarity, and understanding. So we'll end with a final provocative thought for you to consider. We talked about memory liberation today. If the brain's storage capacity is basically infinite, then the true measure of a powerful mind is not how much you can remember, but how ruthless you are about protecting the space for the things that truly matter and can change your life.
Start building your permanent system today. Your mind is ready. Let's make it unforgettable.
Thank you so much for sharing this invaluable system with our native ear listeners.
It was my pleasure.
For all our listeners, revisit these steps, start applying the system today, and we will see you on the next deep dive.
Goodbye for now.